Hi there, it's Sylvia and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I did a complete reno of my kitchen using the best cost-saving tips I could, and this is going to become especially important if these tariffs go into effect. So you're definitely going to watch the entire video, and at the end I'm going to be showing you my exact budget breakdown, in fact expenses breakdown, what I actually spent line by line. I'm going to show you all the receipts so you know exactly what I paid. But my cost saving tips included everything from leveraging ChatGPT to contractor discounts, even driving over an hour to a particular vendor so that I could look at their materials and see if I could get offcuts, basically their scraps, of quartz for my countertops. So you're definitely going to want to check this video and save it for future reference if you're going to be doing a kitchen remodel in the near future. So let's dive in. So I'll start by saying why it was important for me to do a kitchen remodel after having lived in this space for almost 15 years. I can't believe it's been that long, but I actually bought back in 2010. And when I bought, the kitchen was actually brand new. This building is quite old. It's been around since the 1950s, but the inside was completely remodeled by developers that I guess bought the building from previous owners and gutted the entire place. So in 2010, I bought my unit new. Now, at the time, it wasn't exactly the way I wanted it, even the kitchen, but I'd already spent a lot of money on my down payment. And, I didn't get the mortgage rate that I exactly wanted, although it was very good compared to today's rate. So I kind of just made do with the kitchen that I had. But flash forward 15 years later, and it's definitely time to update it and possibly add value to my home. In an ideal world, I'd probably buy a new place, get something that's a little bigger. But since the mortgage rates aren't what they need to be, I think why not just upgrade this current space and make it feel the best that it could. So it was definitely time. There was also another reason, which I'll get into later, but this was a really great passion project, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you all of the amazing things that you need to do. Now, if you do own a condo, one thing I'll say you want to make sure you do is any changes you're planning on doing to your condo or your house, maybe, depending on where you live, you want to make sure that the HOA or the board approves all your changes before you get started. Otherwise, you may hate yourself by the time you get to the end. So I'll just give you that little tidbit up front. But let's go ahead and dive in, and I'm going to be breaking this down by material and the cost saving tips and little tips that I did along the way. So the first thing I started with was installing new floors. Now, that was one of the things that I actually did do when I first moved into this condo 15 years ago. It was this really hard carpet, almost like industrial carpet. And I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to want to stay with that. So I had all my floors redone in engineered wood. Actually, that's a lie. I just did the living room, kitchen, and dining room because at the time, the HOA and the board said that you cannot have more than, or you couldn't have 100%, I should say, of your floor space as hardwood because I guess it was too much noise for the people underneath. So you had to have somewhere between 20 to 30%. I'd have to go and look, but you had to have quite a bit of your space covered by carpet. Now that is not the case. So I could go ahead and fit the entire condo with hardwood floors. And it gets even better for me because I actually had a lot of damage. So the main reason I actually went ahead and did this reno as soon as I did is because I had major water damage from my previous hardwood floors. Basically, the outside windows weren't sealed properly. Rainwater was getting in, and in the corner of my window, that rainwater was seeping down and spreading right under the window and damaging the floors. So because it was an issue from the outside, I am not responsible as an owner for anything outside of the four walls. So I got really lucky. They fixed the ceiling problem that was on the outside. Literally, someone had to abseil off the top of the building, fix and seal the window so that that rainwater would no longer come in and damage my floors. And then because they were the ones responsible, the condo board paid 80% of my floors being redone. So that was a great saving tip off the bat. So if you ever have damage, I think this is true for most condo buildings. If you incur damage that is outside of the four walls, or rather caused by something outside of the four walls, then you are not responsible for that. they should be paying for it, even if the damage is inside. But the cause, the root of that damage is because of something they didn't protect, do, or maintain from the outside, then you are not responsible for paying. So that was a great cost saving tip off the bat. So they actually sent their guy. I was limited with what vendor I could use because they were sending their contractor over. But the guy had some really good options. I found some really beautiful hardwood, wide plank this time floors. And I went ahead and selected that. I can only have engineered wood in this building because it's concrete underneath. So once they uninstalled the floor that I had, they actually had to take off this horrible soundproofing material that I guess back then was required. They said they didn't need that now. It took a lot of work. They had to take off the floors and then they had to get a special machine to come and scrape off that kind of sponge, which I guess is absorbing the sound. But anyway, the point is you can't have real hardwood floors when you have concrete underneath because you can't nail into concrete. And with real hardwood floors, like real wood, you need to nail them in. But the engineered wood that I got was excellent. I really love it and really happy with it. And I assume because the board was paying for it, they went ahead and did all the applications to make sure I was compliant. I actually didn't this time around have to submit anything to my HOA. So my floors are installed. So the next thing that I decided to do now that I knew what my floors were going to look like was repainting my kitchen cabinets. I decided to save costs by not actually bringing everything down and buying a new kitchen. I mean, there really was no point. The kitchen that I had was in very, very good shape. Those cabinets were clean on the inside, sturdy. Sure, I had to fix one of my higher cabinets that sits above the fridge was sagging a little bit because I think I put too many things in there. So now I keep it pretty light. So I had that fixed. But otherwise, they just uninstalled the doors, sanded down the wood, put a primer on there. And then this is important. You want to make sure that your contractors, or if you're doing this yourself, you repaint your cabinet doors with a special cabinet paint that is made for cabinet doors because it's less likely to chip, especially if you have an oven where you're cooking and there's steam. Those cabinets above your oven top, your stove top, are going to be particularly prone to peeling. So you really want to make sure you do a good job with the sanding, priming, and using that special paint. So they did a fantastic job. I'll put the details of all that cost at the end in the spreadsheet that I'm going to share with you. It's been about 6 months now and I have not experienced any peeling. So I know that they did a fantastic job. But if you decide that you do need new cabinets, so you're not going to repaint your existing ones, but you want to take them down, you can actually find some really good deals on Facebook Market or Craigslist. I saw so many people selling really good, I wasn't even looking, but I saw lots of people selling really good cabinets. And if you have a standard size kitchen, you may be able to find some really good alternatives there versus going to IKEA. And then likewise, make sure when you uninstall your own ones, you do it in such a way that maybe you can sell them to someone who would be willing to buy them. Another great place is Wayfair or IKEA. They have great standard size cabinets as well that you can buy off the shelf. So then the next thing that I did was buying my Backsplash. I didn't have one before. So I was really excited to have a Backsplash. And at this point, I wanted to keep everything neutral, but I knew I wanted a white. I just didn't know what kind of texture I wanted. Did I want a matte tile? Did I want a shiny tile? Did I want wide style? Or did I want something that maybe had a bit of two-tone to it? So I love Tile Bar. So you can get to tilebar.com and they have this $5 5 sample deal. So basically you can get 5 different types of tiles sent to you for $5. So that's exactly what I did. I got 5 different styles of white or off-white tiles that I could get as samples. So it's such a good deal. And I was then able to color match each sample to the color of the paint that I knew I was going to put on the walls, the paint of my repainted cabinets, and then I knew at that point what countertops I was getting as well. So I was going for this neutral kind of white, gray vibe. So I made sure that I color matched each of those tiles to find the right one. Another great thing about Tile Bar is when you're ready to commit to a tile that you want, they have this really cool tool where you can measure the space of your kitchen. So you obviously have to measure the height that the Backsplash is going to be, and then obviously the length, including every angle, every wall, And we put those two numbers in and they will figure out how much tile you need. And I think they add about 10 to 20% extra in case you need to cut tiles for special places, or maybe you break some, but they're really good. They give you a little bit extra. So that was really helpful. I did not have to be an expert. I didn't get my contractor to do it. And I made sure I ordered those pretty early so that they would be waiting for the contractors when they were ready to tile. There's nothing worse than having your contractors waiting around for materials that have been delayed. So now here's the really cool and interesting part. This is how I save money on my Quartz countertop. So my contractor, who was actually the same contractor that helped me install my floors the first time. So when I first moved into this condo, he did my floors. He didn't do my floors this time because obviously I had my building pay for them and I had to use their contractor, but I still used my guy to paint my cabinets. And he had a really good connection with this countertop store that was about just under an hour away from me. And I'm not someone who loves to drive, but he was like, listen, go to my guy. I'm going to tell him you're coming and tell him what kind of style quarter tops you like when you look at the samples. And then he will try and get offcuts for you to fit the space of your condo. So basically, all the scraps that other people don't want, he will save them for you in the style, in the countertop style that you want. And then hopefully, when we get enough, you'll be able to cut them to the specification of your kitchen. Now, I actually have 4 pieces. So there's one large piece, which in an ideal world, that would be all one seamless piece, right? But it actually turns out that wouldn't have worked anyway because my elevators are really small. Essentially, it's 4 pieces, 2 big pieces that would have been the one seamless piece if that was possible, and then I have 2 very small pieces that would have always been 2 small pieces, and so it worked. So if you can do that, if you can befriend your contractor and get him to do you some deals, that'd be great. Or you can just drive to your local countertop stone guy and see what they'll be willing to do for you. But I got this really great quartz countertop with this kind of like gray marbling on top, which I love. And the great thing about quartz is it's essentially engineered stone, just like the hardwood floor that I have is engineered wood. It's not like real wood, but it looks like it. Well, it's the same with the countertop. It's not real stone, but it's engineered, it's strong, it's durable, it's easy to wipe, even though it's white. So I really, really love it. So that's a little tip for you there on how you can save some money. Okay, so now my faucet and sink, I actually had my contractor order those for me because they were working together. My contractor and the guy who worked at the countertop store where I got the offcuts, the scraps, they worked together. And so I was like, I'm not going to be able to find a sink and a faucet that's going to fit in time with whatever you need to cut, because they need to cut a hole, right? They need to cut a hole for the sink and then a hole for the faucet. So I said, just pick something. I sent him some quick pictures of what I liked. I said I wanted it to be stainless steel or chrome, and I wanted the faucet to have similar features to the one that I had before, basically being able to pull out the faucet to water things. And yeah, he knew what to do. He actually did a good deal and got me a deeper and wider sink than the one that I had before, which I hadn't necessarily requested, but he insisted. He was like, no, you're going to like this. So he went ahead and did that and just kind of baked that into the cost of everything. And so that was great. Everything came cut and ready for the sink and the faucet that he had purchased. Now, it was up to me to buy the hardware. And when I say hardware, I mean the handles for my kitchen. I didn't have to upgrade them, but obviously it would have looked really ugly with the ones that I had before. They were super cheap. And my contractor had suggested I do it too. So I just measured really easily. They're standard size. So I just measured what size I need. And then I went to Wayfair, and they have so many great deals, so many great sales. And I found this particular style that I liked. And I just made sure I bought them and that they were here in time for my contractors to add them on when they finished repainting my cabinet doors. So that was great. The last thing, let's see. The appliances. Okay, this is a big deal. My appliances, I knew that I wanted to upgrade. I had these really ugly black appliances that I kept saying every year, I'm going to get new ones. I'm going to get new ones. And then before you know it, 15 years passes. But anyway, I knew it was time to upgrade to stainless steel, but I deliberately waited for a Black Friday sale. And oh my goodness, I saved at least $700 by waiting for a Black Friday sale. Obviously, I got a fridge, oven, microwave, and dishwasher. I used ChatGPT to actually find me appliances that would have fit in the exact same opening, I guess, make sure that they fit in the space that I had for each appliance. So essentially what I did was I just opened up ChatGPT, the free version. I actually pay for it now, but you can do this with the free version. And I literally asked it, well, first you have to make sure you get the model number from your appliance. Each appliance, if you open the door or a drawer, somewhere in the inside it will have the model number. So I made sure I got that. And then I asked it, okay, what stainless steel fridges would replace my current fridge, which is General Electric? Then I described the style and the model number. I said it needs to match the dimensions very closely, but it doesn't necessarily have to be General Electric. And you could get bonus points if you tell it the price range that you are looking to stay in. And so ChatGPT literally spit out, well, first of all, it started by telling me what the measurements are for my current appliance. And then it said, okay, based on these current dimensions, here are some alternatives. Here are 3 stainless steel alternatives. And then because I forgot to ask what price it was, I then went on and asked for price comparisons, different model options. I mean, it literally did everything for me instead of me having to measure everything, then go to different stores and look at it, and then do price comparisons. I mean, I literally just spoke to ChatGPT, and that's how I found my appliances. So anyway, make sure you go ahead and ask ChatGPT. It's going to give you so many good options. Oh, before I forget, here are some other really cute things that you can do to up-level your kitchen. Lighting is important. I actually bought these really cute magnetic lights, spot lighting from Amazon. They're super cheap. I'll put the price down here somewhere. And you just charge them. They're rechargeable. And then you put them underneath your cabinets, and they provide this really soft lighting at night. Another thing too is you want to make sure that your outlet covers now match your new Backsplash. I realized when my contractors put the outlets covers back on, they were kind of yellow, which is kind of gross. So again, Amazon has some really good ones that you can update with clean, crisp white outlets. And yeah, you just want to make sure that you are arranging things in a new way that maximizes your kitchen. I may do a whole nother video on that actually, because that's not really renovation, but just thought I'd mention those things. Okay, let's talk numbers before this video ends. Here is the spreadsheet breaking down exactly how much it costs. My renovation came in at just under $12,000, or I should say $11,600. I think that's pretty good. I did do a lot of price checking with other people. Even though I have a small apartment, my kitchen is a pretty decent size. So I think this price is fair. I did break down the cost of the paint and the floors because I had an entire area, not just the kitchen painted, and of course the whole apartment with hardwood floors. So what you'll see here is that I think for the floors, I divided the cost by a fifth to really just narrow down maybe what I spent in the kitchen area. And then with the paint and the labor, I kind of narrowed that down a little bit just to try and specify what was just applied to the kitchen to get an idea there. Another great tip is your contractor should definitely have a discount that they can use. So even if you don't visit Home Depot or wherever you're going, Lowe's, to purchase materials, ask him for, I think that he uses a telephone number. If you can ask him if it's okay to use his telephone number or whatever member number he has, and you can get a really good discount. So I ended up just paying $82 for all of the paint for the entire apartment, not just the kitchen. And then Black Friday sales are a must. There's always sales happening for holidays in the US throughout the year. So if you can hang on, do all your research, and then keep checking every other day for prices leading up to or right after the holidays. So that's it. My kitchen, I'm really proud of it. I'm definitely going to be using ChatGPT more to do extra renovations or little upgrades. I may do a video on the best AI tools that I like if you are interested. And be sure to watch my entire tour of my condo renovation. I will link to it here so you can see how I did the rest of my apartment. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.